Alright guys, welcome to the round 18 review of AFL Fantasy. So we scored 22.77 this week, which is a pretty solid score. I'm pretty happy with it. Puts us at an overall rank of 13th and a round 18 ranking of 1,623. So pretty solid week. Team value is at 18.16 mil, so going up slowly, which is nice. Rookies on the bench was really good this week and helped towards my cash generation a lot. So I'm really happy with the rookies on the bench. In terms of trades that we made this week, we traded out Taranto and Langford for De Goey and Salem. And you're probably looking at my team and seeing traded out Tim Taranto and questioning why I did. The reason we traded Taranto this week was because of Sharp's score. Top scorer for that Dogs Suns game with a 123. And I really didn't want that just sitting on the bench, so I figured Whitfield should be back next week so we can hold him instead of trading him out. Whereas Langford's out for a while, so we held Whitfield, looped him onto our midfield, and took Sharp's 123. And hopefully Whitfield's back this week. But that's the reasoning behind doing that. We had to trade out a midfielder, so at the time McRae had already played, and the options were Adams, Taranto, Walsh, Oliver, or Merritt that I could trade out. And out of those options, I thought that probably Taranto was the worst, so we decided to trade out Taranto, and we brought in Salem and De Goey. De Goey mainly because of his role change and his scoring in the last couple of weeks, and Salem because we needed a bit of unique to help us push up the rankings. So that's the reasoning behind bringing in De Goey and Salem for Taranto and Langford. But in terms of how our team went, defense was pretty poor. Laird was probably the only good player this week. Bit of chaos with that COVID crisis, so Mills didn't play. We took Bianco's score of 74, which I'm really lucky to have, so I'm happy with that. Chris was really poor as well with the 69. Didn't do anything in the last quarter, so it was looking alright, but yeah, just didn't score at all in the last quarter. Didn't lay a tackle, didn't get a disposal, so finished with a 69. Probably cops a -3 this week. Was pretty poor. And Salem and Stewart were alright. I wanted a bit more from Salem on debut, but I think you kind of get 80s with Christian Salem. It's sort of going to be an 80, and then he's also got a really good ceiling, so I don't think he's going to score 100 consistently, but he does have a good ceiling, and that's one of the reasons why we brought him in. And then Highmore with the 58, he was fine. We'll look to offload him this week. Merritt as captain was alright. We had the VC on Mitchell and Oliver. We were kind of switching between those two, and then we put it on McRae in the end, like 5 minutes before the game. So a bit disappointed we didn't stick with Oliver or Mitchell, but Merritt as captain was alright. Mitchell was sensational, probably best on ground in that game, looked really good. And then Whitfield didn't play, so we took Sharp's score, who was absolutely amazing. 30 disposals, I think it was like 10 marks. Was all over the place and looks like a really good player. So definitely one to watch in the future. Could be a future selection. But 123 plus 3 this week was really good. McRae, he's been pretty poor the last couple of weeks. I don't blame you if you decide to trade him out of your team. He's lacked his tackling ability as well as his ability to find uncontested possessions. So he hasn't been marking as much lately, but hopefully he does bounce back. And then Walsh with a 155, high score off the round, and he was amazing. This kid is absolute superstar, and I'm probably going to select him next year. Probably going to be the first player I select next year. I just like his game style and how he plays. And then Taylor Adams, 89, bit down on his usual, but it's fine. I think he copped an injury, so we'll let it slide. And then Oliver, 126, was amazing. This is why we brought in Clayton Oliver, for him to score 126. So I'm happy with Oliver, and his run coming up is pretty good, so hopefully he can average 110 plus for the rest of the season. That'll be nice. And Lockie Neal was really poor, 86. No excuses for this score. Lockie Neal, just a terrible score, so hopefully he can bounce back. He's got a good run of games coming up as well. Dylan Williams is a bit of a concern, not playing. I think he'll probably just sit there for the rest of the year. We probably won't even trade him, so we can probably loophole with him if we need to. Then Gawn, Darcy were good. Darcy copped a bit of an injury towards the end of the game, so hopefully he's alright to play this week. News is that he's most likely going to play this week, so I reckon he should definitely hold his spot. And Reeves, good to have him back, 49, so that's good for our cash generation. He'll probably be one of our last players we trade out and then downgrade. And then forward line, Josh Kelly, look, I think he did his ankle in the third, so was on track for another 110, 115 plus score, and he got injured. So whether or not he plays, we'll have to see the injury news tomorrow. most likely won't play, so we'll probably trade him this week. But chances are very slim that he does play, so that's that. A bit unfortunate, but everyone has him, so it's fine. Aaron Hall was amazing with the 136. Looks really good. I think 14 marks he took, so he was all over the place. Jack Siebel's 76 was also pretty average. Considering how well Aaron Hall played, I thought Siebel would have been a bit better, but that's fine. And Pendlebury 81 was alright. I think you get 80s and 90s from Pendlebury for the rest of the season, so probably not a top 6 forward, but he's a good option if you're looking for a consistent player. And then De Goey was amazing. The best player at the Pies at the moment. His form recently has been amazing, so he's taking marks, he's tackling, he's getting a lot of the ball, and I kind of wish I picked him up a bit earlier. Bit angry that I didn't, but it's fine. He's been really good. And then Bramble with the 73, good stuff from him. He looks like a really good player, and his job security is really good at the moment. So I'm happy with how he's performing. And Amadi on the bench, that's fine. So yeah, we'll just take that. Probably have to trade him soon though. And Newcomb was the emergency sub, but didn't play, so that's fine. But that's how we scored this week. Pretty solid week. I'm happy with my team and how it's looking. In terms of the trades that we're going to be making this week, bringing in Kennedy and Zorko. Kennedy was playing predominantly midfield that game, and a bit of concern with Paddy Cripps was coming back, but I think the way he played, he looked really good. He was marking, tackling, doing everything, so I really like Matthew Kennedy as an option, and hopefully he can just keep that midfield spot, because he scores really well when he plays midfield. And Dane Zorko as well, his run coming up is pretty good. I could bring in Brodie Grundy if I needed to, but I think Zorko's run of games just coming up is probably a bit better than Grundy's, and Grundy had a poor week, so I'm thinking we go Zorko over Grundy, although Highmore to Grundy might be the trade that we do later in the video, later in the week, sorry. So Zorko or Grundy, I'm not too sure who we pick at the moment, but at the moment this is how our team's looking like, the trades we're making. Probably go in VC Mitchell. His form in the last couple of weeks has been amazing. I know he plays Brisbane, who are a pretty tough team to score against, but Mitchell has been amazing against tough teams. I think he scores better when he plays tough teams, to be honest. So we'll probably VC him, and then Captain Merritt, who, although wasn't great last week, I think he still is a really good option to captain. Plays the Giants, who are a tough matchup, and he also plays really well against tough opponents for some reason. So I'm not too sure why that is, but both these two players play better against tough opponents, which is kind of a trend. So I'm not too sure, but I think hopefully Mitchell scores a 120 plus and we can loop him. If not, we'll probably captain Merritt or even Walsh, who's been in some really good form. Walsh plays North, so he's going to have a field day. But that's what our trades are looking like at the moment and who we're going to captain. In terms of rookies to bring in, if you're looking to do a downgrade this week, I've listed a couple of rookies that I think are all really good options to bring in. Roscoe number 1, Henry, West, Ugle-Hagan, and Durham. I think out of these options, the best one would probably be Roscoe. Just given how he played on the weekend, his job security looks really good. Probably one of Collingwood's best defenders, so he looks really good. And price of 222k, he can score well, we know. So I think he's probably the best option. Followed by Connor West, who had an impressive debut score of 76, so he looks really good. And then Durham, who also was probably one of Essendon's best players on the wing on the weekend, so he looked really good. So I'd go Roscoe, West, then Durham, and then probably Henry, and then Ugle-Hagan last. The only reason Ugle-Hagan last, because he's priced at 270k, and he's probably not going to score more than 60 for the rest of the year, so he's there as an option, but I think there are much better options in Roscoe and West and Durham, so those are just a couple of rookies that are there for the picking. I also like Chris Mayne in defence. I think Chris Mayne is also a really good option. Hasn't gone under 80 in a while, so he looks like a really good player and a good option, a bit of a unique, so it's one to consider. But yeah, that's how our team's looking like at the moment. If all goes well, we'll have Whitfield playing this week. Maybe Mills. I don't think Mills plays this week, so we'll have to just hold him for a week or two. But Whitfield plays this week. Darcy should play this week, and maybe Kelly gets through. I doubt it though, so we'll probably have to trade him out. But that's how our team's looking like at the moment, meaning we've fielded 2 rookies in Bramble and Sharp, which isn't great, but it's the best we can do at the moment. So leaves us with 2k in the bank, which isn't ideal. So that's why Grundy might be a better option to bring in rather than Zorko, but I'm not too sure what I'm going to be doing at the moment. But that's how our team's looking like. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.